What kind of access did you have to President Trump before briefings? And then, compare that to what Karine Jean-Pierre is saying.
So first of all, I talk to President Trump probably on any given day, probably a minimum of 10 times, if not more. First thing in the morning, I'd get a phone call, or I'd get a phone call. It's either from him, from the White House operator, or somebody saying, Sean, the president's on his way down. He'll meet you in the Oval. But that was like basically how I started my day before I even got coffee. But here's the tell. Because to your point, number one, how are you an effective spokesperson for the president of the United States if you don't know what they're thinking? Your job as press secretary is to speak in lieu of the principal. So if you haven't spoken to them or know what they think, how can you speak about that?
And if KJP didn't have, and Jen Psaki didn't have this FaceTime with President Biden, and they didn't have these frequent phone calls, who were they getting briefed by?
Good question. So there's a group of folks at the top, longtime Biden confidants, Bruce Reed, Steve Ricchetti, Mike Donilon, Anita Dunn, who had been around Biden for a long, long time, like decades. And I argue that was the cabal that